2015 Rugby World Cup quarter-finals kick off this weekend, and with me to preview the 4 matches is IBTimes sports editor Nick Howson. Nick, we'll look at the first match, that is Wales against South Africa. You've got a Wales team who have defied the odds so far to get out of the so-called group of death, but have been plagued by injuries, against a South Africa side who, after suffering that shock first defeat against Japan, seem to have gone from strength to strength. Yeah,
very much so. I mean, Wales, as you say, it was a heroic performance against Australia, but they couldn't quite get over the line against what at times was a 13-man Australian defence. And it was really the first time they had a bit of resistance in this tournament, really. Obviously, it was their first defeat. The injuries have continued. Liam Williams has pulled out of the tournament, and that's almost become a weekly occurrence now, I would think, for the squad. And Warren Gatland said it's the worst injury run that he's ever seen. I would think that is water off the duck's back in some ways, and the fact that they could beat England and they got into the quarterfinals suggests that really the injuries, albeit it's harrowing for the team, they're getting over it quite well. In some ways, similar for South Africa in terms of they've got over that initial defeat to Japan. I don't think there were really any doubts they would get through even after that loss, but it did just suggest that this team isn't quite as capable as maybe getting to the final as many people might have thought. They certainly came into this tournament a little ring rusty. A lot of their players hadn't really played after injury. In terms of these two, I think you look at Wales and as I said, I mentioned this before the England game. A lot of the players still not performing to their very, very best. George Ford still not, George North even still not at his best, and that's a real issue. If Dan Biggar's not kicking every penalty that he gets, then you struggle to see where Wales maybe even where the tries are going to come from. So that's certainly an issue to look at. In terms of South Africa, where they're going to win the game, probably in the front 5, you would think. The pack really dominated England at Twickenham. They're probably going to have to do exactly the same to South Africa. That's a pretty daunting prospect. After that, the back row battle is going to be fascinating. And when you look at the backs, really, unfortunately, South Africa have just got more firepower. JP Peterson, Brian Habana. So from that point of view, you give it South Africa the edge as far as accumulating those points in terms of tries. But it should be a fascinating battle. Wales have won only one game in the last 16 years against the Springboks as well, so it's certainly a daunting proposition for them.
Well, for all our coverage of the Rugby World Cup, go to our website, ibtimes.co.uk.